Let's just jump right in, shall we? Because look, if you're anything like me, you are probably absolutely exhausted by this never-ending 24/7 stream of notifications, breaking news, and constant social updates. Honestly, my phone sometimes feels like a super needy, really loud toddler that just refuses to go to sleep. It is so draining. So in this explainer, we're going on a bit of a mission. We are going to find the signal in the noise, we're going to figure out exactly how to reclaim our focus, our time, and crucially, our cognitive energy from this totally overwhelming digital landscape we live in. We'll look at how to filter out all that digital junk, the fluff, and hold on to the true signals, the actual information that matters to our lives, our work, and our mental well-being. Let's do this.
To really get to the core of why we feel this way, I want you to think about this idea. A wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. Now, this was coined by Herbert Simon. He was a Nobel Prize-winning economist and computer scientist, and get this, he said this way before smartphones even existed. It's kind of wild, right? Because it perfectly hits the nail on the head for the trap we've all fallen into today. We somehow trick ourselves into thinking that having around-the-clock access to the news cycle and endless data streams makes us smarter, or more informed, or somehow ahead of the pack. But the reality? It's the exact opposite. Being chronically online and flooded with a wealth of trivial data leads directly to a severe poverty of attention. Our brains literally aren't built to process this much constant, low-value input without just burning out.
So, we often find ourselves completely buried in this massive wall of the trivial, right? And we're just struggling to spot those tiny, rare nuggets of the critical. Think about your daily feed for a second. Author Tim Ferriss uses this exact dilemma to push for what he calls a low-information diet. Because every time you get a ping from a news app or every time you catch yourself endlessly scrolling through a social feed looking for a quick dopamine hit, you are essentially drowning yourself in the trivial. Ferriss actually points out that multitasking is a total myth. It's dead. To actually be productive, and honestly, just to find some peace, we have to recognize that this ever-expanding stream of notifications is actively drowning out the critical few things we actually need to focus on. We really have to learn to embrace a little bit of healthy, selective ignorance.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we actively filter out all that trivial noise and find the critical stuff? Well, enter our ultimate defense mechanism, the Lindy effect. Coined by author Nassim Nicholas Taleb, the Lindy effect is just this absolutely fascinating mental model. It essentially states that for non-perishable items, so things like information, ideas, or books, the older they are, the longer they're likely to stick around in the future. Think of this as your ultimate built-in philosophical filter for deciding what knowledge is robust and actually worth spending your precious cognitive energy on. Instead of constantly chasing the fleeting trends of the day, we can just let history do the heavy lifting for us. Time itself, as it turns out, is the absolute greatest filter for meaning and value.
Let's make this super concrete. Just think about the number 400. If you take a classic piece of literature, let's say Shakespeare's play Macbeth, it was written roughly 400 years ago. Now, according to the Lindy effect, because it has survived the brutal test of time and stayed culturally relevant for 4 whole centuries, we can statistically expect it to be around and relevant for another 400 years. No way, right? It's wild when you really think about it. Every single year that a piece of knowledge survives without going extinct, its future life expectancy actually doubles. So things that have been around for a long time are essentially aging in reverse. They are incredibly robust. And that right there is exactly where we want to direct our attention.
So the really crucial point here is how we actually apply this to our day-to-day lives. Think about the stark difference between digital news noise and timeless wisdom. I mean, the 24-hour news cycle is highly perishable. What is considered absolutely breaking, earth-shattering news today is literally entirely forgotten by tomorrow afternoon. And worse, it's deliberately designed by algorithms to be anxiety-inducing just to capture your clicks. Now contrast that with timeless wisdom. When you sit down and read classic books, philosophy, or really any long-tested ideas, you're absorbing knowledge that has survived generations simply because it works. Like entrepreneur Naval Ravikant notes, reading the best thinkers of the last few thousand years gives you these incredible nuggets of wisdom that will dramatically improve your life, rather than just unnecessarily spiking your cortisol levels. Practically speaking, shifting our daily consumption habits is just a total game changer. We are all so used to refreshing the daily news constantly, or dealing with that nagging social media FOMO, and just feeling this immense pressure for constant connectivity. We've all been there. But the Lindy-approved alternative is just so much richer. Instead of that constant daily news drip, try switching to monthly publications. By then, the dust has settled, the hot takes have faded away, and only the real valuable signal remains. And here's a really fantastic tip. Instead of constantly seeking out new, untested information, try rereading the classics. A truly great book actually gets better on the second or even third read. Because as you grow and change, the book reveals new layers of robust knowledge that you completely missed the first time around. Now, you might be wondering, why is implementing this so urgent? Especially if you are a student or just someone trying to learn a new skill. Well, it's tough out there right now. Recent research by Dr. Samaresh Bharati and Sarthik Das paints a pretty harsh reality about the academic impact of digital overload on students. When students are constantly inundated by notifications and that immense pressure of a digitally driven society, the effects are honestly devastating. This overload directly decreases concentration, it severely disrupts sleep patterns, and it causes stress levels to just absolutely spike. We're talking about immense anxiety and a significantly diminished quality of life and academic performance. I mean, that constant task switching between a textbook and a TikTok feed literally exhausts the brain before the real work even begins.
To solve this, we can't just rely on willpower alone, right? We desperately need systems. So here are 3 specific, highly actionable boundaries derived from that research that you can implement literally right now to replace that doom-scrolling habit. Number 1, establish absolute digital-free zones during study sessions, mealtimes, and right before bedtime. Your brain desperately needs uninterrupted space to function. Number 2, limit your social media use to very specific scheduled times of the day. This helps combat FOMO and puts you in control, not the algorithm. And number 3, actively prioritize offline activities. Specifically, try replacing your evening social media scrolling with reading a classic book. Instead of letting an app drain your energy right before sleep, let timeless wisdom recharge it.
To help you get there, researchers Bharati and Das developed a complete 5-step roadmap to digital minimalism. And I really want you to view this as a personal, empowering journey to completely take back control of your time. Okay, step 1 is self-assessment. Take a moment to honestly reflect on your habits and identify all that non-essential digital clutter. Step 2 is the digital detox. Intentionally schedule periods to completely disconnect from unnecessary apps to protect your cognitive energy. Step 3 is prioritization. Define your true academic and personal goals so you know exactly what actually deserves your attention. Step 4 is mindful technology use, setting strict boundaries so technology acts as a tool for you and not a master over you. And finally, step 5 is cultivating offline activities, going out and rediscovering the joy of real-world hobbies that actually recharge your batteries.
I want to wrap up this explainer by leaving you with a pretty provocative question to chew on. Seriously, think about this. Will the information you consume today matter in 40 years? Think about the tweets, the clickbait headlines, that endless stream of short-form videos. If the answer is no, you really have to ask yourself why you are trading your absolute most valuable, irreplaceable resource, your attention, for it. By utilizing the Lindy effect to filter for robust knowledge and by actively stepping into a digital detox to protect your cognitive energy, you can completely transform your productivity and your peace of mind. Thank you so much for exploring this with me today, and hey, I challenge you to be a ruthless curator of your own attention.